That light we see is burning in my hall. How far that little candle throws his beams. So shines a good deed in a naughty world.
Wer reitet so spät durch Nacht und Wind? Es ist der Vater mit seinem Kind. Er hat den Knaben wohl in dem Arm, er fasst ihn sicher, er hält ihn warm.
อันความกรุณาปราณีจะมีใครบังคับก็หาไม่หลั่งมาเองเหมือนฝนอันชื่นใจจากฟากฟ้าสุราลัยสุแดนดิน
Rhythm is everywhere. It's all around us, but it's also within us, in the steps that we take, in the beat of our hearts, and in the words that we speak. Rhythm in language is essential, and in this film we ask why we need it, why we seek it out, how it helps us to learn and enjoy words in a different way. And it's in poetry where we really see rhythm come to life. Poetry is a form of rhythmic language amongst other things, and we use it from very early on in life to understand the world around us, and that's why we've come here to the University of Cambridge Primary School, where they use it in the classroom every day. And we're here to meet nursery teacher Becky Wilson.
La vida empieza con lágrimas y caca, y luego viene el amú con mama y coco. Síguense viruelas, baba y moco, y luego llega el trompo y la matraca.
So we're going to do some beautiful singing today. So what song do you think we should start with? Does anyone have a song they'd like to? Oh, Twinkle. Okay, get your stars and are you ready? Nice and quiet, this one, you ready? Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Well
I
done.
know that one, that's a good one. We've just had such a lovely sing-along with the kids, amazing stuff from them. How much does rhythmic language play a part in the learning that the children have here?
It massively plays a part, I think, especially in early years when they're just doing that early phonics learning and they're just learning how words are structured, how language is structured. It really helps them in terms of learning how many syllables are in a word, learning rhyming, all of that sort of extrinsic knowledge that they'll learn through doing music. But I would say as well, they just really enjoy it, and it's really good for them, like socially, to get that confidence and to just feel a little bit more able to express themselves.
Do you think there is a lot of pleasure then in the use of rhythm?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think once they sort of start to feel the music a little bit more, they feel like they are part of this social community, I guess, where they're doing something with all of their friends at one time, and you can really see that it lights up the way that they're experiencing it and enjoying it.
Do you think it also, that rhythm helps you as a teacher to get them to do stuff as well? Perhaps a rhyme or a rhythm helps them put on a coat or something like that. Does it help them follow an instruction?
Yeah, in nursery and early years we use that a lot actually. So in any transition times, it really supports those children to know what they have to do. So usually it's accompanied by a visual. So we'll show them like a picture of their coat and we'll sing something like, time to put your coat on, coat on, coat on. And even just that simple bit of rhythm, music, language will help them to pick up that a lot easier.
It's clear the rhythm helps these children learn, but they enjoy it too. Humans hunger for pattern, and this is a real pleasure for them. Are you having a good time?
Yeah!
I give this heavy weight from off my head, and this unwieldy scepter from my hand.
So rhythmic language can make us feel good. With so much natural pattern around us and within us, we enjoy it, the predictability of it. There's pleasure from the metre of a line of Shakespeare, for example. I sometimes struggled to get my head round Shakespeare at school, but the lines that stuck were the ones with a certain rhythm, a stressed, unstressed pattern. To be or not to be, that is the question. Double, double, toil and trouble. There was something pleasing about them at the time, and I want to explore that enjoyment a little further with someone who knows the work of Shakespeare well, Dr. David Crilly, who's director of the Cambridge Shakespeare Festival. So David, you've been directing a festival of Shakespeare outside here in the university gardens, and we've managed to snatch you away just for a moment from those rehearsals and the actors. I really noticed from those rehearsals that the way Shakespeare is spoken by them is very different to how I heard it at school, and I think particularly the way the rhythm is delivered as well. And rhythm is really, really important in the words of Shakespeare.
Absolutely, yeah. We think of Shakespeare as a playwright, which of course he is, but he's also a poet. And most of the plays are written using several verse forms from poetry, the most prominent one being iambic pentameter. An iamb is a single unit of rhythm, da-dum, with a weak stress followed by a strong stress, da-dum. And if we think of a line like something from a sonnet, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So there are 5 iambs in that line. And as in pentagon, 5-sided thing, an iambic rhythm or verse form has 5 iambs in it. So 5 iambs, iambic pentameter. And that's one of the main things that he uses. One of the things that's really important about iambic pentameter, and I often get students to do this, if they hold their fingers like this and hold it against their chest and they go da-dum, 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 da-dum. It's heartbeat. So iambic pentameter is quite literally the rhythm of life. And one of the reasons that we're drawn to it, that we absorb it so easily, is that metric structure is built into the fabric of our existence.
We've seen your actors performing Shakespeare very well, but I'm assuming the rhythm can be done very badly as well.
Oh, it can. Yes, absolutely. I mean, the thing about any rule is that it's important to know when you can break it. And adherence to a rule, strict adherence to a rule, never works anyway. There's the openings of Helena's speech, for example, in Midsummer Night's Dream. How happy some or others some can be. Through Athens I am thought as fair as she, but what of that? Demetrius thinks not so. He will not know what all but he do know. If you do that naturally, it contains that rhythmic element anyway. How happy some or others some can be. Through Athens I am thought as fair as she. If you exaggerate the iambic pentameter, it would be how happy some or others some can be. Through Athens I am thought as fair as she. So obviously if you do it in iambic pentameter strictly, then it sounds awful.
We want to explore that idea of rhythm, language and movement a little bit further. So we've come here to meet a rowing crew, and the woman whose words have the power to motivate them, even compel them to move. She is, of course, the Cox.
Hi Hannah, pleased to meet you.
And you too. Is this your boathouse?
I'm afraid not, that's the university clubhouse. Ours is right next door.
Right, let's go and have a little look. Kirsty, just before we go any further, I just want to get an idea of what I've let myself in for today, because I have actually volunteered to cox the boats. What does that involve? I've never done it before.
Indeed, well, we'll be throwing you in at the deep end today, not literally, don't worry. And I'll be teaching you all about the controls, the left and right. You'll be with an experienced crew, so absolutely nothing can go wrong. I'll give you pointers as we go along.
Okay, hopefully nothing can go wrong.
Or harder on red for us to turn the boat off.
So if you go on green, which way will it go? The way that way. Harder on green. Harder on green. Harder on green. Harder on green. Catch. Dry. Catch. Dry.
Ainsi chante l'ouvrier en faisant son ouvrage, ainsi le laboureur faisant son labourage, ainsi le pèlerin regrettant sa maison, ainsi l'aventurier en songeant à sa dame, ainsi le marinier en tirant à la rame, ainsi le prisonnier maudissant sa prison.
We were absolutely brimming with confidence. Nobody crashed. I think you got to grips with the steering. Your commands were perfectly in time. You were paying attention to the rest of the boat, and everybody, I think, had a really, really nice time.
Oh, well, I had a wonderful time. I'm not sure if I could have done it in any way, shape or form without you in front of me, basically telling me exactly what to say. And how important then is the rhythm that cox is bringing to the whole boat?
It's absolutely imperative. You need, number one, for the people in the boat to be able to stay in complete time with each other, and it really, really helps, especially in an environment where there are other things going on and there are other boats and you're working hard to keep everybody in line and out of danger. It's really, really important then that everybody remains relaxed, everybody is doing exactly the same thing. So with your voice, you can control people, then they start to tune into your voice, then you see that people are actually working with you and your calls.
What happens when you have a cox that perhaps is less rhythmic and they don't have that sort of natural rhythm of language?
It makes a really awful row for the people in the boat. It's also coxes who don't engage with you, so they're not communicating with you, and then you just feel like you're rowing and rowing and rowing for an eternity. You don't know whether we should speed up, you don't know whether we should slow down, we don't know who's not rowing properly.
If you're tuned into a good cox's rhythm, can they almost push you too hard? Are they almost, yes. Sometimes you get to the end of the race and you've gone too hard, too fast. I mean, you hear sometimes of rowers who've passed out in a boat. Is that because they're so focused on this rhythm from the cox?
Absolutely, the cox can make people do anything. You've trained hard, and what normally happens is when you get to the end and you can see the finish coming up and everyone will call a power 10, but then they start shouting empty the tank, and the enthusiasm in their voice and just the shouting and you're like, do you know what, I could empty the tank, literally pass out right now, and I'll be the happiest ever because I know that I gave it everything.
I think what the role of the cox shows us is that the combination of rhythm and language can have quite a hold on us and can compel us to do something. It can move us both physically and metaphorically. So it kind of makes sense that in poetry you can evoke that same response through rhythm and language too.
相见时难别亦难，东风无力百花残。春蚕到死丝方尽，蜡炬成灰泪始干。
We've heard so much about rhythmic language across the course of this film, but I've still got so many questions to ask. So I've come here to Clare College to meet Dr. Charlotte Lee and Dr. Timothy Chesters, who teach and research modern languages here at the University of Cambridge. Good afternoon.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Should we go into the garden?
I would absolutely love to. So we've been on quite a journey from singing nursery rhymes to me shouting at a group of women in a boat, basically. But it has been absolutely fascinating, especially those children, I think, seeing them learn through rhythm and understanding how that rhythm helps focus their attention really surprised me. Does that surprise you?
Well, I was really struck by one of the things that Becky said about, I think she called them transitional moments. So when the kids had stopped learning in class and now they needed to shift gear, put their coats on, that was the moment at which it felt natural to say, can you put your coat on? So rhythm there is a kind of lever, if you like, to move from one state to the next. I think rhythm often operates in that way, as a way of shifting attention.
They also seem to really enjoy learning through rhythm, and those two don't always go hand in hand, learning and pleasure, I think. Is that the same with poetry? Does it help with our pleasure of verse?
Yeah, I think so. Rhythm, in the end, is a pattern, isn't it? And as human beings, we need patterns. We seek them out. We love them when we find them. They give us pleasure. And that's something we get on a broader scale, I think, just in the set of poems that are available to us as human beings. We get a lot of variation, but we also get patterns coming up again and again and again.
My time on the boat with the rowers helped me to understand how rhythm and movement really seem to be connected, and how the power of the beat in my words really moved them into action. And can that happen in poetry as well? Can it physically move you?
I think it can, but in a slightly different sense. So the cox obviously induces movement in the rowers using rhythm. Poets might not get you up off your chair and pulling oars, but they're doing something similar at a subtler level, I think. I think it's quite interesting that the part of your brain that deals with auditory signals, hearing, is right next to the part of your brain that deals with processes movement. And those things seem to me deeply connected. When we read a highly rhythmic line of verse, our motor system is prompting us, if not to actually perform the motion, but to perform a kind of ghost trace, if you like, of the motion. We're aware of the movement and we respond to it. We talk sometimes, I mean, in sort of technical terms, about entrainment, as that being a phenomenon of entrainment. You sort of gather them up into a kind of synchronic movement.
Well, I felt powerful.
Perhaps there's a slightly darker side, potentially, to this power that you have to compel people, as it were, to follow your instructions.
This isn't just something you study in one department. It's not just about literature, is it? You're working with so many different people on it.
We can't answer these questions by ourselves. Something that we really enjoy in our own work is talking to people from other disciplines and learning from them, hearing, for example, what a neuroscientist thinks about rhythm, how they understand it. What do people who work on linguistics do? What do rhythmic phenomena mean to social scientists? That's really exciting for us, and we try to bring it into our work. Each time we read or experience a line of poetry, it's different. Each person will voice it in a slightly different way. We have different voices. We'll put the emphasis in a slightly different way. The intonation will fall out differently. So it's also endlessly variable. It has a structure that's flexible and that is different with each new person who encounters it, and that is incredibly exciting for us.
I think this short exploration that I've done has definitely increased my understanding of rhythmic language and rhythm in poetry, and the part it plays in helping us understand and enjoy poetry and how it can move us even physically. And also understanding that rhythm is all around us and within us as well, and how that impacts our enjoyment of verse too. Thank you so much for taking us on this journey.